So a while ago, I ordered a couple of these Shelly 1PMs to make my lights smart, and also so I could see the power monitoring. Now, first of all, I came up with a problem. They didn't want to connect to the Shelly app, and then they didn't want to connect to Home Assistant. And then I had to figure out a whole new wiring system. So let me show you how I managed to work it all out. So the Shelly One is a really great device for putting behind your light switches to automate them. The first thing I do is I connect the Shelly to power, and then I press this little button before I connect the app. So now I open up my Shelly app and I go add device and I select Wi-Fi. The Bluetooth doesn't work. I scroll down, I find my Shelly 1PM and I add it to the device. And there we go. You can see it's looking for the device. It says join. I click the join button and now it will connect the Shelly up. Connecting to database. There we go. Settings, adding to Wi-Fi, and there we go. In a few seconds, it will all be connected. There we go. Device is offline, it's saying, but it'll be online in a second. There we go. So now you can see I've added my new Shelly. Still saying device offline. There we go. It's come online now. This video is sponsored by PCBWay. PCBWay has multiple PCB types, which can be tailored to your specific requirements. They also cover the cases for your projects with 3D printing, injection molding, and CNC machining. There's even a collaborative section where users can share their own projects. New users get $5 off their first order, so click on the link below to find out more. To give it a few seconds. So now that you've added your device, you need to select an area for that device to be placed, and now you can use it. You can see there, power on, power off. My Shelly's all working. It's showing me the amount of power that it's using. Now, the next step that you need to do is to update the firmware. And this is a key thing. If you don't update the firmware, you won't be able to connect it to Home Assistant. So the way you do that is you go down to the little gear lever at the bottom and you select firmware update. Mine is already done, but you will see when you get there, it'll say press firmware update, and it will now update your firmware. And now it's all ready to connect to Home Assistant. Do remember we're dealing with 220 or 120 volts AC, which is lethal voltage. So please get your electrician to install these devices for you. I'm not an electrician. I'm just giving you this information to show you what I've done. Once we've removed our light switch, we just need to undo all of these cables from the old light switch. And once we've got these out, we can then start connecting up our Shelly. So the first thing we need to do is we've got our live wire coming here from the supply. So the live is going to go straight into the live on the Shelly. We'll put that into the L1. So there we go. We just bring that in and we tighten that up nice and tightly. There we go. Second thing we need to do is bring our neutral. So to do that, we take a piece of black neutral wire and we just strip that off. You'll see that I've got a multi-core cable here. It is actually a little bit easier with single core because it is easier to get into these tiny little components of the tiny little connectors on the Shelly. So we're going to take that one there and we're going to connect that up with one of these. So we'll stick that over there and we'll screw that up nice and tightly. So that is taking our neutral wire and that is then going to be connected into the neutral of our Shelly. So we'll just screw that up nice and tightly. Make sure that that doesn't pop out. There we go. Okay, so that is our neutral. Now we can bring our neutral into our Shelly over here. So we'll just push that in there. There we go. And we'll tighten that up nicely. Next, we're going to take the lead going to our light, the live lead going to our light, and we connect that in here on the 0. So we'll just stick that in there. We'll just make it slightly shorter. You don't want it too long in case they short out. So you want to make sure that the whole metal piece goes into the Shelly. So there we go. Connect it up. So what we're going to do now is bring our switch along. We're going to connect 2 wires to our switch, 1 to each of the posts, and then we're going to connect that into the SW and the L on the Shelly. Now either one can go into either of these posts. It doesn't matter because we're just closing the connection. All you do now is you go back to Home Assistant. You will see that once you've turned on the power, it will appear in Home Assistant. So now we go along to notifications. We can see their new devices discovered, and there it is. There is our Shelly. Okay, we want to submit that, and there we go. We can now select a room. Let's say this is going into the bedroom, for example. We finish that off, and now we can go to our Shellys, and we will see there it is, 1 of 5, and we can now open up our Shelly, and as you can see, we've got our energy monitoring, we've got our on off, and the other really cool thing about the Shellys is that they have an overheating and overpowering on these new version of Shellys. You can even select the device temperature. If you want to, we can enable this by going along here and enabling this, and this will now even show your temperature within your diagnostics. So awesome devices. Just takes a little bit of time and effort to work how they are installed, but I've done it all for you now. Anyway, that's all from me now. Like and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more information. I've got a new millimeter wave sensor that I'm testing next week, but that's all for now. Have a great week. Bye then.